we can just have the tight end to the right. You can call him anything you want. For us, if we have a single tight end, he's designated as the Y. You guys can call him anything you want. Okay, we're going to talk just some quick passing game stuff. First is the seam. What's going to happen based on your passing game, if your quarterback takes a one-step drop, two-step, or three-step, right? What happens to us in the 20 game, if we're throwing to the right, he's one-step drop, right? It would never be a two-step because he's right-handed. Or some people run it off a three-step drop. So let's say we're going the 21st, which is a one-step drop by the quarterback. Okay, we'll have a receiver outside the tight end. The tight end, the first thing we teach them is the quick seam. It's important that you add that first word, quick. Because quick seam and seam are not the same. Okay? What happens, he wants to escape any defender on him, get straight up the field in 3 strides. He's got to snap his eyes and snap his eyes back to the quarterback. Coaching points: do not turn the shoulders and do not be sliding into the middle. Wants you straight up the field. Okay, so he comes off on his 3rd step. He's got to snap his eyes to the quarterback. Snap your eyes. Don't talk about the shoulders, the hips. We want the hips and shoulders going straight up the field. Yes? All right. Now, knowing some things that you already know. Now, before I go on, now if we're doing it off of 30, it's a 3-step drop. So what happens after I get off, I'll move in a minute. I got to snap my eyes on the 4th or 5th step. Now, if the ball's not there right now, what's nice is I turn to look. I'm either going to see the ball thrown over my head that way, or I'm seeing it go that way. It ain't coming to me. So if it ain't coming to me, I'm going to snap my eyes upfield, and I'm going to what? Block after the catch. Right? All right. So let's just say, for the sake of this, as I came up, why we always get in a flat back. First, as the tight end comes up, he always scans the same as the offensive lineman. Left, middle, right, eyes straight ahead. If he can't see, like I would used to do, when they stood him up and he stayed up, what we'll let him do is stand up and scan, see what he has to see, and then go down on down so he can see, right? So why I'm bringing this up, right there's a flanker. I saw a rolled up corner and a halves player. Right? Right? And let's say for this, I know we're calling 20 slant or 30 slant, so I know we're getting that. Yes? Think back to on the field. So there I go on the seam. I snap my eyes back to the quarterback. I'm seeing the ball go outside of me. As I turn it up, do I come back for the underneath player, or do I go up after the halves? Halves. And what kind of a block? We always talk percentages. What kind of a block do I want to get on the halves player? 100. That's the difference between stock blocking and play side and stock blocking for pass. Why we want to get all of them, Shane? So you know, as he fills. Gotcha. I want to get all of them, because what happens, like Son, if he turns it up how he should, is when we get to the wide receiver stuff. If you ever catch the ball coming inside, we want you to look it, chin it, and tuck it, and then turn it straight back up the field and split the corner and the safety. Always. Don't just keep running across the middle. So I should catch it, chin it, tuck it, and turn it up. All right, so what happens is he's coming downhill. If I'm already on him, he starts to step by, and then I just dry block him, and he just cuts into behind me and turns it back up again, right? Right? If he's already coming hard, he's going there, then I know here he comes, he's the upfield guy, I've got to get to where I have to get to, so I'm trying to get into 100. So you can see what happens a lot. You get a lot of half safety overrun, he's able to duck it back inside of him and still play tag on the other half safety. Playing tag means good wide receiver. When you turn it up, when you beat one deep guy, now your concern is whoever else is deep. Now it keeps them from going across the middle. All right, and we'll get into that into detail on the wideout stuff. But you see how tying in the basic teaching of the route and teaching blocking after the catch is huge. And we'll get into run after the catch here in the next 2 days for the receivers and the tight ends. People don't spend enough time on them, on balance drills and violent yard stuff and, you know, all that. So do you like how I'm tying it in, I hope? If you don't, tough. That is a quick seam. Now, let's get back to escapes. Let's see how smart you are. A lot of this is just common sense. I'm going to be over here now, Tim. You guys have been paying attention to effective meetings, yes? I'm going to throw this at Doug. Do not answer this for him or anybody else. Doug Brady. Suddenly I'm talking escape techniques by the tight end, right? Against certain kinds of alignments by the defender, because I am the offender. He's in Bronco force. Outside backers on my extreme outside edge. Yes?
Yeah.
I'm going on the... How many Dougs are in here? I'm the guy's on my extreme outside edge, right? I'm on a quick seam. Am I gonna come off first with the left foot or the right foot?
Just gonna run the inside seam.
If I knew that basically I'm trying to get from here to there. Just common sense. If it's an inside route, it's vertical, but it's inside. My eyes are coming inside foot. Why I can, because he's already out here. Yes? The guy's already out here. Now you'll see how this ties in. Now he goes, so what would happen, I can basically come off straight. Second step, I'm throwing the rip and scraping paint, even if it's on air. Because if he does come back to me, I'm scraping paint, and I don't get knocked too far in, or I'm not held up. Does this make sense? So I knew that would, so that's what I would do. I'd foot fire with the inside foot straight, scrape paint second. Third step, snap the eyes, not there, block after the catch, right? Do not turn the hips and shoulders. Very good against Bronco force. But hey, it ain't Bronco. The guy's heavy. He is heavy. Now, you've got to understand, in the passing game, there's always a hero. That's one receiver that should always be open, based on whatever your passing package is. That's a Homer Smith, Rick Neuheisel thing. The hero. On our short game, as you guys know that have been to our stuff, our quarterback's he's gonna read the second defender in an up stance, counting from the outside in. And whatever that does, that tells him on the short game to throw the inside break or the outside break. Well, if we were running either 20 or 30 slant, that flanker is the outside break and the tight end's the inside break, because he's outside, he's inside. So when they cross, they don't get confused on, we never talk inside receiver, outside receiver. All right? Well, what happens, usually he's the hero. Usually. Because if the number two, say that was an outside backer and they had a strong safety sitting there, right? Say we had a double nickel, so he throw to either side and he had a soft corner. That's the quarterback's read. So as I drop, if that guy makes any move to the flat, I know I hit the outside break, because you run right under the flat defender and then turn it up and run like hell, right? Yes? For you guys that run two back sets, such as BYU, normally if this guy's not in a protection, they're going to send that back hard arrow, you can see why, to influence that sky safety to go flat, and then that really guarantees he's going to be the hero normally. So what I'm trying to share with you, if I know I'm not going to be the hero, and we're talking to tight end, sometimes they'll throw to me, all right, but such as he just sits on it for the slant, just sits there. Quarterback knows he's coming to his inside break here, the tight end. So that's the only time that he's the hero. 9 times out of 10, he's going to be the hero. So if he's going to be the hero, I got to know what? You cannot release any way that could possibly mess up the hero. You got it. You're the pure Homer Smith stuff. Do you all know who Homer Smith is? I don't know if Doug knows. He's one of the greatest minds of all time. You're going to see him on tape a lot the next 2 days with players and stuff. So if I know that, I've got an outside backer heavy, or it could be a down guy. All right? We're running 20 or 30 slant to us is what that whole package is called. Okay? Now, that guy is heavy on me. Coach Riker. I know 9 times out of 10 this outside receiver is the hero. Yes? I know he's coming in here somewhere. I have a guy heavy on me. Am I gonna swat and go outside him, or swat and try to duck under inside and get back on the midline?
Swat inside.
You got it. And don't get them to start thinking about this stuff. You are correct. So I would step, rip, scrape paint, get back on the midline. Yes? But hell, the guy's active and shit. What's the next move I can use and still not ever mess up hero? What's the other thing that we did on the field right after we just taught? Counter. Just jab step. Jab step slightly outside the right. Do not, and the key is the left foot. Keep the left foot straight at the field. Then counter swat rip, and you're back on the midline, and we still haven't messed up the hero. Because what you see a lot, guys try to go around him, he knocks him into him, he's sitting on it. Quarterback's got to go backside now or just tuck it and go on the short game. You know what I'm saying? But you see how this is all starting to tie in? You teach the fundamentals first, and then you start bringing them in meetings on the field stuff where they really start to see how this all starts to fit sooner or later. It's still effective. Pros, it isn't effective because, you know, the hashes are so close, so basically it's not a wide side and a short side. What you'll get if you get a lot of pre-inverted cover 3, uncoached teams, if this ball's into the boundary, yes? One, their free is coached well. So he goes, if that's the boundary hash, that free safety's back at 11, he knows what? You're never closer than 3 yards to a hash mark in high school. In college, it's even easier. They stand right between the friggin' hashes, meat, because it's pretty easy for them. Pros is the same, because the hashes are really close. So college or pros here, coach cover 3, get your free right between them. Never get over the ball, even against option teams, because hell, you can't cover the deep middle if you had to. You've got so far to go. So what I'm saying is, you see this a lot in high school. In cover 3, the corner will still stay outside and off about 7 to 9 somewhere. This guy's back at 11. That is not good defense. And don't think this is just a high school thing. A couple years ago, Boston College used to kick Miami's ass when they get in cover 3 because they kept this corner. There's no flanking now, right? Strong safety's over there. 3 deep, pre-inverted. Corner's soft, but he's still staying outside. But the freeze coach one, he gets his ass in high school 3 yards inside the hash at least, or right between him in college and NFL. So I'm saying on the quick seam, what he wants to do, he knows that this guy's here and this guy's here. Yes? Yes? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to change what I do on the seam. The key is once I catch it, if it comes to me. If I become the hero, because I already scanned, I'm creaming. Because as I look, this guy's back and there's no freezing. The next deep defender's inside the hash and off. What happens when you catch it, right? When you catch it, start to bend it. First play tag on the corner getting over the top, right? As you're playing tag on the corner getting on the top, here comes the free, then you split them. Do you see why if you just kept going, you can make it easier for him? So after you catch it, start to bend it, play tag. We'll all be playing tag this afternoon after you make catches and stuff. And then does this make sense? So that's what he's thinking about. Now if it's in the middle of the field, on the quick seam, catch it, chuck it, straight at the field and go. You don't have to think about nothing. Okay? Does this make any sense to you?
Absolutely.
So we're right back to the same thing. I come up. Coaches call it 20 or 30 whatever, like slant, but it's over here as primary. Doesn't matter. I'm still on the quick seam over here. I'm not talking scheme here today, but just so you understand it. So, outside backers in Bronco. Inside foot fire, outside foot fire. You got it. The guy's got his outside eye on my inside eye. It's just common sense. A, if you think you're getting inside of that, you're dreaming, right? Yes? You're dreaming. So, but he has to understand, this guy's still off. I can still go the outside foot, step through, scrape paint and lean, and still get back on the midline. Yes? Or I can what? I can drive down hard for a count and give him a punch and then come off. So it's a quicker version of slow block because I can't hang around. But under no circumstances are you going to try to get inside against that. He's already taken it away. And why you spend time on that? Because if you don't, they'll go too wide. And if they are throwing back to me, now you're helping this soft corner didn't know how to play to begin with it to be able to make a play on you. Okay? So those are things that you start going over inside and then take them on the field and you start doing those kind of things. Now, some people do this. I don't like doing it with a tight end, just a normal tight end. We don't ask him. See, if you guys know, and Doug's probably been taught some of this now at New Mexico State, blitz pickup on drop back pass just doesn't involve the protection. It's a receiver going right to where a guy's blitzing or dogging because they don't have enough people to pick them up. So the receiver changes his route to get open to right to where that guy had been. That's a wide receiver thing or a slot thing or a tight end flex thing, but we never ask the tight end to do that. So what I'm saying is, if he was called on a quick seam, you see why we want him on the third step to snap his eye as a quarterback. What we don't want him to do is start up the field, and if this backer starts to dog, to start to bring it in here full speed on the run. Because A, you don't know if he's coming or not coming before the snap anyway. And if you teach this, you know what happens? The kids come off, and their eyes go to the backer, and then he don't come, and then the ball's right by him, the quarterback was throwing it to him because they weren't going straight. Does this make sense to you? So when you got your own team someday, we never blitz pick up with a tight end on a route. He's running his route. That is really big. But you guys do at New Mexico.
We definitely don't use the tight end, or he just stays on his route, and we change the protection a lot.
Yeah.
So if we see anything.
Yeah, but basically, it isn't going to change him.
Correct.
That's good. Your head coach there is?
Tony Samuel.
I don't know if he remembers me, but tell him I said hi. He spoke at our big one in 1990 when he was the outside linebacker for the Cornhuskers. Yes? Yes. No play action. Yes. Doesn't matter. You got a flanker out there or not. Now, we're going to basically assume, for the sake of this diagram, that I do have a flanker. And you can call me anything you want. Basically, for us, that guy is Z, tight end's Y. If we have double tight ends, the backside tight end's the W. Arrow. What happens on the arrow? Day one, no coverage, no nothing. The idea is I'm trying to get from here to there as fast as I can at a depth of 3 yards max, right? And I'm hauling ass, and this is a great play even into the boundary in high school. Then as I'm flying and I don't see the ball thrown to me after 5 steps, then I turn it up. So I just get within 3 yards of the sideline and I turn it up. So what I'm saying is, arrow does not just have to be off the short game, it can also be off the 5 step. All right? And by not changing the depth of his initial release, good zone defender's going to have his eyes on the quarterback anyway, but if they get their eyes to the receiver too quick, they can't really tell if it's going to be a longer route or a shorter route. All right, so that's basically where he's trying to get to. All right, the big thing on the arrow as you're going, you want to snap your eyes back to the quarterback. Do you see what's happening? If you get your eyes all the way around, that gets the shoulder all the way around. Biggest reason arrows are dropped, the shoulder pad's in the way. Yes? And when we get into the catching drills, then you get caught. The ball gets late, and they try to catch it like this. Now your arm's in the way. It goes right through their hands. And we'll get to the catching stuff. Just trust me, arrow, you don't ever want him catching the ball like that. Ever. Like that. And we'll get to all that later for receivers, tight ends, everybody. Okay? So that's where he's trying to get to. Well, if that's where he's trying to get to, let's go the other way. This is drop back pass. This is not play action. The guy's already on my inside eye. Just arrow. Step the right foot and left foot long, reduce that outside hip, your inside hip and shoulder, and run like hell, yes? Don't mess with this guy. You don't have to. Right? You will dig this. Now, there's a lot of argument here. Say now he's not there, but he is heavy. He's head up. He's head up on me, right down the middle. One, I don't have time to dick around. We'll foot fire with the outside foot, right? Now, what happens is what? And this is important, starting to teach the subtleties. On arrow, if he's heavy and I want to step around him to the outside, yes, you don't have to keep your shoulder pads level because you're trying to go outside anyway. Because then they get screwed up. He's in my face. I step here and he just beats the crap out of just. It's like a funnel corner on a wide out, and then I end up going nowhere, right? So you don't worry about not turning your shoulders now. You step on a 45, you bring that long second. So in other words, your right foot, left foot is going to the route against a heavy defender. Because if he knocks you that way, that's fine. I'm going that way. Does this make sense to you? Because I'm just bringing up things that I see undercoached. Then I'm getting 3 to 4 steps in my route if it's short, and I'm stepping my head and eyes back. It's a 5-step drop. I'm getting 10 or 12 steps before I snap, and if it's not there, I'm 3 yards to the boundary. If it's not there, I'm going to what? Turn it up. Don't get closer than 3 yards to the sideline. I'm going to bring this up on the receiver stuff later. You guys will freak. Tim Clark knows this. Every great team has this on their practice field. That is the sideline. Based on what your personal preference is, between 3 yards and 4 yards off the sideline, they have dashes all the way down the field, both sides of the sideline. Those obviously aren't hash marks because they're going the wrong way, right? Does anybody know for wide receivers what those are for? Do you guys do this in New Mexico State? If not, say, hey, coach. I mean, I know you're an option guy.
We do. We have numbers.
No,
the dashes.
Dashes, 3 to 4 yards inbound. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
If you do, because when we get the receiver stuff, Len, you'll see how this ties on the tight end. If we're ever on an up or a fade, we don't want the wide receiver ever closer than 3 yards to the boundary, so you can throw it over his outside shoulder and catch the ball before he goes out of bounds. How many games, high school guys and pros, have you ever seen the guy's on an upper and a fade, he's too close to the boundary, he does exactly what he's taught, throws it over his outside shoulder to escape the halves or the free safety, and he's out of bounds. Because he didn't give himself enough operating room. You go, well, what does that have to do with the tight end? Everything. Thank you very much. If I'm on the short passing game, right, and I'm going arrow, after 3 or 4 steps, that ball hasn't been thrown, because if it has and it wasn't to me, I'm turning up the block after the catch. If it's not thrown, and I feel myself in 3 yards of the boundary, now turn it up. Because if Doug decides to throw over your outside shoulder, then you got space to catch it. That is huge. So those dots aren't just for the wideouts. But that's a great thing to put down in your practice field. I mean, that's huge. All right? So you have a feel on that? Yes. Now, the big issue. I'm on an arrow, and you get this, I'll be personally creaming. I brought this up on the field, and it was intentional, Garen. You're a friggin' honor student. Backers and Bronco. He's on my extreme outside edge of my outside pad. Well, I'm number one, I know what. I'm trying to get from here to there. Now, this isn't play action. This is drop back, but you could treat it as play action. See, I'm helping you because I love all you guys do that. Tell him. So he's in Bronco. And I'm trying to get to the arrow. Yes? Well, obviously, the easiest way out would be go under him, but then you're dicked. Because you're coming back and giving the underneath guys time to get to where they have to get to. So what I'm saying is you would never do that, because that is not that. Right? Well, he's already in Bronco. He's on my extreme edge of my shoulder pad. So if I try to step my outside foot and go around him, and then I tell him I bring the second step, if he's any good, he's playing my feet because I'm his primary read. So he's stuffing me, and now I'm getting knocked sideways. Because at first he thinks it's reach. Because great outside backers always play against the run first. So what can I do that we taught on the field? What can I do to still get to the arrow? Stun him. Stun him. Just bring the near foot, bring this one, and just try to keep your head to this side. So we talk Hunter, but it's more of a 65-35 outside leverage, right? Stun him, drive 1, 2, 3, then just drop your shoulder and come off. You don't have time to try to throw him back inside. So in other words, so we can be the same way. Yes? Near foot, punch, pound, reduce and get off. Yes? All right? You have a feel? I have a backer in Bronco. All right? say for the sake of this, I had another defender and a deep defender. So you got a corner, strong safety, nickel. You got something there, right? I know I'm going arrow. I'm going arrow. Yes? So I know if that guy's really in wide Bronco, I'm going to stun him, right? So we all know that. Boom, boom. As I come off and stun him, is my head to the route or is it inside? My head's to the route. If I'm going to have to stun him on arrow, you don't want to get caught all the way in the middle of him, and you sure don't want your head inside of him, right? So now, I take off, and I do what I do, reduce that shoulder, and I'm arrow. He's hauling ass to flat, right? He's coming under. So I snap the arrow, and I see the ball thrown that way. So it must be going to the flanker. Yes? So now as I turn up, right, who am I going after? Yes. Now, here's the big thing. Now we're into the real subtleties. If you're going after the soft corner play side, you know when you ran arrow, you saw Doug throwing inside of you, right? You cannot be a great tight end if you don't have a clue what DBs are taught. They're giving up the short thing, and they're going to teach that corners. He ain't going to just pedal out. He's going to slide back, and then he's going to pro plant and bring it and get to the top shoulder and just squeeze as best he can. So if I know that, right? I know that. 9 times out of 10, I also know that on this particular route that he is the hero. So what I'm saying is the only time that you force your route to where you're going, even into the hero, is on arrow. So we don't get confused there. So here I go arrow, I'm seeing it behind me. If you see it behind you as you turn up, keep that guy about a yard or so inside you as he fills. In other words, make him come to you, because what's going to happen now, you're going to have blocking at 100 even later. Now you're cutting your shed time in half, you're right back to kickoff return and punt return on it. What all great kickoff and punt returns do? They block the cover guys early or late? Late as they can, rise in, return man, they don't have time to shed the block guys by them. Just happened last night in that bowl game. That kid returned that touchdown away. Shit. You guys ever coach special teams anymore? Do they have the halo in high school too?
Yeah.
Shit, our guy never fair catching except we're on the 10 or something and it's coming right down to them. We're going to catch every time we return it because they can't touch you anyway. Okay? Or we're going to bluff the fair catch and let it roll in because now they swear you're going to catch it again and they all hover to you instead of going down like it should. But do you see how that all ties in? You see why I would work to here? Because I know he's going to be coming. Because if you go here, he can beat you across. All right? Then if you have time, gather, punch into 100, and then what happens if I'm going arrow and he already caught it and I'm turning up and he already got across me? Do I even try to shimmy? No, just get your head in front, punch, and drive. It's like blocking a linebacker. You know how we arch and all that stuff that you guys have all been through? All right? So that is big. Now, always say the best for last, yes? Change the emphasis, change the color, Homer Smith. This is huge. This is why our tight end scans. Out here's your flanker. They've got a rolled corner, and there's a halves guy back there, 13 to 14, and there's an up player. Now that may be cover 2, it may be 4 tough, it might be quarters, it might be a lot, it may be 3 roll high, it may be a lot of things. But I know one thing, I got a guy up and a guy back. The tight end does not have to see the whole enchilada here. Yes? So what happens? You can take it to the bank. If they're cover 2, whoever over this tight end will be heavy. Trust me. He'll be head up because they never want to let a tight end off clean in cover 2, right? Because your inside backer ain't real thrilled. He goes vertical with a free release. Yes? So what I'm saying is this would be worth the price of admission. When I come off, because you know I'm just going to go, right? Because I can, because he's heavy. Yes? You don't have to keep your shoulders square against a heavy defender on arrow. Isn't that right? Those are your feet. As you take off on the arrow, all right? As you take off on the arrow, and it doesn't matter if we're running a quick game or 50 us is 5 steps. 70 is 7 steps. Whatever you guys call it. Like, what, you guys in Oregon, your 30s and 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Oregon.
No, yeah, but whatever it is. So what I'm saying is, number one, as I scanned initially, if his depth was over 3 yards beyond me where I'm at, I'm just running an arrow, right? But on the snap, say they're hiding it and it's quarters. I take off on the arrow, he crosses over, because this guy initially started vertical, right? If he starts to bail, you just stay arrow. Does that make any sense? But if they're like in a cover 2 look, he's just about at 3 yards. He's just about at 3 yards, and the NFL guys do this a lot better than anybody else. Say that underplayer's already sitting down about 3. Well, hey, look, Amos, if you look out there, and even if he wasn't, say he was further back initially, but then he ended up about 3 on the snap, he dropped down, right? If you're going to your route, and that squat guy is even, yes? Hey, he ain't gonna throw it to you. Initially, anyway, right? Go right for the near pec, and now take it up. In other words, duck under him, and then take, or in other words, think the dot. 3 or 4 yards from the boundary, right? Does this make sense to you? Because you're just taking yourself out of it otherwise. Now, if he really comes up hard and he's under me or over me, the arrow stays at 3 yards depth. You got it? That is really undercoached, isn't it? I mean, it is. See why I keep turning to him, because he's coached tight end. But isn't that sweet? Because for what it happens, it turns into a void route where I just duck under him, then I get back up and out, and then up the boundary, and you always turn your head back to the inside and your eyes, right? It's because off the 5 and 7 step game, you can see that this really opens up some shit. Because that guy's going to open up, and then this guy's coming across and up. Woo! Nobody's ever in the hole. You guys know where the hole is? Yeah. 18 yards at high school up the field, 2 yards are close to the boundary. In college, 20 yards is between 20 and 22. 2 yards are close to the boundary is the hole. That's where good passing teams throw the ball in the hole. Yes, cover 2 or 3. And a lot of times 4, the backer didn't want to buzz. That is correct. Boy, I saw that in a bowl game and I was freaking. They're in quarters, and they're shooting, and they're in single back, and they're shooting the single back flat or flatten up, and there ain't nobody there. It's supposed to be the linebacker. Yeah, that's right. That would be helpful. But do you see how the fundamental drills we did outside are starting to apply? Then you bring up the subtleties in the meeting, then you go back out and start showing the different coverages. Because later, it's either today or tomorrow, I have to check my check sheet, but we're doing a whole thing on how your receivers want to identify coverages and windows. Okay? Now, we also like to talk about that tight end. A lot of offenses, sometimes he's off the ball. He'll still be the Y, but then some people call him H, but he's the H back. It's like a tight wing, but it's the same guy, or it's another tight end. So I'm saying you could have tight end, H back, or you could be in a bunch. You could be all kinds. But this is a tight end type. Yes? Ways to effectively put him in motion. And what a lot of your better teams do, which you see a ton in the NFL, they'll put a wide receiver type at H-back occasionally. Right? If you play a lot of man-to-man, here's what I'm talking about. Based on how they send you in motion, I don't like, anytime we send an H-back or a tight end or anybody in motion, I don't like doing it like a lot of pro teams do. They put the onus on the receiver going in motion based on the count. Then he's got to know when to go. Well, what if the quarterback wants to change the play or something? All right, so for me, when I coached offense, if I had to do it again, the guy that pulls the trigger is going to come when to go. And you can do it one of 2 ways. Doug can step up and he's doing a count wherever he is, and turn and look at him, or you can heel him. Some guys like to bring the heel back so he can see it. Don't have to bring the heel back if he's back. But I like to start him off a heel motion. I don't like him to have to do it on the count. You guys run any H-back motion or any motion? Is it off the count or off the heel or off the look?
Off the heel. It's off the snap count.
It's off the count, yeah.
He goes when...
But you see why I prefer the heel? Because I can time it how I want all the time.
On every other position is off the heel, but the tight end
okay.
is off the
okay, and again, a lot of people have success with that, but you see why I don't like that? I want to make it as simple as I can and as consistent as I can. So what I'm saying is, if that's just a normal H-back, if you want to send him across the formation and send him on the arrow, it's a great route against teams that play a lot of man, right? Because what happens, what's going to eventually happen, he's going to get so far out here, and then he's going to eventually go arrow. What you're going to do is outflank the man defender coming across the ball with you. So you can't coach effective motion with the H if you don't know defense. Say they were playing a two deep man under locked up, which means there is no banjo between inside backers and outsider nickels. That means whoever I got, right? Well, number one, if somebody has that guy, and the offense, you guys know the offense is going that way, right? Even if they're playing man to man, but if that guy's in a tight alignment, is the guy over him an ink or orc? Ink is inside man, orc's outside. He's an orc. He can't be an ink. The guy's in tight. Because if your guy was stupid enough to get an ink, we just keep running arrow over here, right? So he's coached well. He knows what? I'm an orc playing outside technique. No point in playing ink. Shit, he's already in here, right? Because I know he's either coming right back out, or he's going across a formation on a diagonal drag, or he's motioning. You understand me? So he'll be an orc. Orc's an outside technique. Well, if he's good, if you take off, he'll take off. He'll go under the linebackers because it's man. Anybody have a clue? You guys probably do all this stuff. Why do you think he goes under him? As I chase the H across, why do you think I go under the linebackers instead of over them? I'm coming underneath the line. I'm coming in front of linebackers. Does anybody have a clue?
The ball gets snapped down.
A lot of teams, what do? This guy comes in and he leaves or cracks and they hand off in there. So what they teach him is that guy goes, you stay on his back hip. If he ever fills in here, you come right off his near hip because it is run. Right? You see that a ton. That's what the good DBs or the backers taught. Well, then once you get past the other guard, he knows that he can speed it up now to get into a catch-man mode so you don't get in too much outflank. But still, if you run this correctly, you can say, I don't care how fast this guy is, how slow he is, you can outflank him with the H-back motion to the arrow. Right? In theory. Now, how do you do it? Teaching the H-back to change his speeds when he's going in motion. Yes? You can really dick up the orc defender, boy. Here's what I'm talking about. If you just take off at the same speed, right, he'll figure out what that speed is to stand on your back hip, and then he knows once you get past the guard, you're not coming back in dick motion normally, right? Once you get past the guard, you're going to keep right on going or stop here and stay in block, right? Right? So now he knows he can speed it up a little because he knows he'll do what he has to do to stay inside out on you. So what I'm saying, if you're going to run him on patterns where he's going to end up outside, if it was me, I would teach him how to change up his pace getting across. Yes, I would burst, glide, burst. I would start out hard as I can go. I tap the quarterback in the ass as I go by, so he just knows he has a clue. It's a feel when you get in the pass game. I know where he's at, then I know about how far he's going to get before I ask for the ball. But the idea, I'm going to burst to the quarterback and tap, then I'm going to throttle down for a while. Now I'm going to burst again 3 or 4 steps before I go arrow, because you know what he's going to do? He's going to burst, he's going to slow down, and now he's thinking, oh shit, he's filling or he's going on the seam. He'll throttle down. If he's undisciplined, he'll even back up a little bit. Now I burst to the arrow. Now you've got him outflanked a mile, right? So the changing of the speeds with H-back motion is big. Yes? Just trying to bring up things that I thought about hard that I've seen from across the country that I think can be done a hell of a lot better. Does that make any sense? Now, what I really like is skip motion. What skip is, and again, to keep it simple, we'll just keep this as the H-back. What skip is, I start about a quarter speed, my head's that way, I'm going towards the quarterback. Yes? Yes? Then after a couple steps, I'm going to square up, so my head's that way. and I actually skip. It's like a glide for you guys that have coached linebackers. So in the skip's the only time I'm allowed to become a heel clicker. You got it, man. The carryover of guys that have been around this stuff and Tanny, a lot of the special team guys are creaming because all the buzzwords are the same for everybody. So I'm going to heel click it. Pads over, knees bent. So what's nice, when I skip motion in here, anywhere in here, he fills and blocks. I start to turn, I skip motion, and I go arrow. Now when your kid becomes advanced, it don't take an idiot child to figure this out. Say I want to run arrow over there. What can I also do besides changing speeds now? Change the motion look. Yes? Change the motion look. Well, shit. You've been hammering him up in there. You're out of 2 backs or 1 back with him filling, because he is the lead blocker instead of a fullback. If you have a 2-back set, this stuff gets pretty nasty for an inside backer. So what I'm saying is, the other way to get him outflanking any man defender coming across the formation. Start at quarter speed, square up, right? Show him skip motion, right? Because you know what he's going to do? He's going to square up and slow down, go, shit, it's coming, and then from here just burst it to the route. So in other words, you're going to use skip motion to change up on him to get outside the other side. Use skip motion, then it's all burst. There is no skip motion and burst glide burst. It's skip burst. You understand? But isn't that hot? I mean, to me, why I want to do this first session first, because this stuff can get you guys a job someday, I'm telling you, man. Because people don't coach the tight ends that well, with a few exceptions. Now, we don't call it this. Tim goes, I hear this one coming to the freak. Tim knows what's coming next. Don't answer this for anybody. DJ knows this. Yeah, I know you know this. You know this. You know this, but you probably haven't seen it explained this way. But maybe you have. Now, it isn't called like this in the huddle, obviously, or it's part of the package, but you'll get the idea. He goes that way, turns around and comes back. Put that on there and you got what? A dick. That's dick motion. They're dicking with you. The idea, the undisciplined man defender that's already an orc sees you take off, so he's hauling ass not to get outflanked. In the old days, we only brought him as far as the center. Why don't we do that anymore? What's the good orc defender going to do? He's going to stand on your back hip till you get to the other guard. So that it looks like a dick. Well, we don't call it that. Some people call it yo-yo and everything else. Do you guys call it that? Is that right? Yeah, tell them I like it, Tony. Anyway, but that, because why we call it dick motion, because you draw it up and it looks like a dick. Now, so you know that, okay? Now, what I'm saying is, if you're going to come in dick motion and come back and stay in pass block, and trust me, man, on your levels in high school and college, you play these people one time a year. It ain't like you're playing them a couple times, and then you play them in the preseason, and then you play them in the playoffs. You're not going to see them all the time, right? Plus, if your offensive coordinator has it all figured out, the idea of using effective H-back motion or tight end motion is what? You can't always tell by how he's going if it's run, pass, or play action, because then it starts looking the same to them, and then like any good OC, when they think you're going to run, you're throwing, and when you think you're throwing, you're running, and you got them dicked up. Like if you had your defensive coaches at New Mexico State take all your game tapes from last year, I will bet them, steak and eggs over easy, whole wheat toast, hash browns, extra crispy. I will bet them, for the course of your season, your opponents on second down and 8 to 10 ran more than they ever threw on second long. Second long is a rundown. Trust me. Because people special sub the defense and they get clocked because they're in a nickel and dime and quarter and shit they're running. That's a rundown. So what I'm saying is, if we're going to run dick motion, he's going to be asked to pass block. Who here's ever coached the offensive line? Anybody? You coached it all. Hardest thing in O-line in pass protection, no matter how the defender shaded. Remember all that footwork stuff with Kyle and Crescent Valley? As they turn and set, stay as square as you can, as long as you can, even with a guy coming off the edge. Because we'll masco that and kick it back, right? And stay square, and then finally one-hand punch, so he comes back in. Now, if he ever comes back to the quarterback, it's two-hand, right? Blah, 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 blah. Well, you go, what does this have to do with tight end motion? Everything. if you're going to ask him to go in motion and dick it back, but stay in a pass block, right? What we teach him, he's got the first guy coming off the edge. We don't tell him he's got the outside linebacker or the nickel or whoever it is. Well, hardest thing for them is to stay square. So let's see if we can figure this out, Garen. Do you think it would be, just think it through, do you think it would be easy for him to come past the guard, turn around, and the quarterback's got to learn to time it out so then he can get, fairly square, but he'll end up on an angle, right? And he blocks whoever comes off the edge. And this is off a 5 or 7 step drop. Well, I could do that. Or do you think it would be better when he's asked to stay, to tap, turn around, and come back? Now, when you get about to the guard, turn and skip motion back.
Skip.
That's right, because now do you see this? I can get a lot squarer. Plus, what saves your ass, which you will love, why we do that and skip motion back is if the count's off or he asks for the ball just a little early, by being square, and I'm calling a little inside, I can get outside and still stay inside out of that edger. But if I'm coming back and it's too early, that guy's coming off the edge and he's a great speed guy, I may or may not get him, and then the guy's not an idiot. He's trying to drop 5 or 7 step drop. The guy's flying. I go to come off. He shake and bakes under me, ear holes you. So can you see, these are things that you really need to address as a staff. The beauty of doing this is what? They don't know it's pass just as you're dicking back and he skips, because now, by dicking him back and skipping, yes, like Tim Clark loves to do, you can influence the nose and crack him with this guy, hand off. What I'm saying is you can still run the lead play or the power plays and all that out of single back or 2 back sets. They don't know just because he does that you're throwing or not throwing, or play action or anything else. All right? Think back to when we had a tight end up here. Yes? And the tight end was going arrow. Yes? Yes?
Yeah.
Now, there he is. So I start to turn up, I just run outside of him to the arrow. Right? I'm square, he bounces out, he's basically he's in Bronco, right? I'm just going to stun him to the arrow. If I skip and I can stay square and he's inside of me, I just arrow. So what I'm saying, you never reinvented the wheel now for the guy if he's a tight end just getting off on a snap, or he's an H-back or yo-yo motion. It's all the same, in other words, because you taught him the first stuff as a normal tight end or a flex tight end, yes? This makes sense here, but these are things you really need to address, because the best offenses, man, as Tim Clark knows, boy, that Homer Smith stuff where every play looks identical and it's completely different. You give the defense an exact look of something, and it may or may not be that, One of the greatest things, I see it done with slots, I don't see it done enough with H-backs. Why we name him H is just for the passing game. All right? Let's say the H is over here. All right, now in a single back team, and not to confuse you, but out of a double slot, the slot over here is Z and the slot over here is H. You can call them whatever you want, but for us, if your H is always going to be the same guy, this is pretty slick. If that is H, if we want him on Doug's heel to motion out, H-O, hero. And don't worry about the double words. They don't get confused. Because he knows 9 times out of 10 when they blow this coverage of man under, he is the hero. What I'm saying is he has a receiver out here, or maybe another one. Hero, Doug heels him, he motions out. We never skip out in hero, you always turn and run. All right? Hero, H, out. If we ever want any receiver to run back in motion across the formation to the left, that to us is Liz. Left. Rip is right. Hero is going out. Got it? Now, when I'm sharing, this is so pure. This gets into the quarterback stuff and that, just so you'll have an idea. Say Doug scans like all good quarterbacks do when they come up left, middle, right, middle, and then they put the dominant hand on it and they scan against the hide stuff. What happens in the short game or the five-step game, if Doug gets that number one defender with his eyes inside of Doug knows he's in some kind of a zone. He doesn't know what kind, but he knows he's in some kind, right? But if his eyes are glued on this guy, even with too deep back here, he's got a pretty good idea that guy's in man under, right? Right? So if his eyes are inside, if this is going to be his primary side, I'm not even going to get into how he knows that in the short game. But he does. He knows which side he's throwing to for every drops it. He reads the second defender in that stance, and it tells him to hit the inside, the outside break. But if you get confirmed man, you read the number one. It's a beautiful thing. You run hero out of the short game. You run hero to 20 or 30 slant. It is ugly. What happens, Doug's now reading the number one, right? Number one comes in, whoop, jumping that guy, I throw out. Because the only next guy back there is a has guy. Well, you know what happens? When we run him in hero, we practice it where Doug learns to ask for the ball right when he's getting just about to the inside foot of the wide out. Right? Because what happens, even in college, it's an amazing thing. You'll get him to screw it up and jump this guy, right? This guy stays off, but Doug's still reading one. Number one stays out, tells him to hit the inside break on the slant with a has. Boy, this is ugly shit, boy. Whoop, whoop. All right? But you can really dick around, you know, with hero types of motion, but we'll never skip them. It always turns and runs. Then it's up to the quarterback to pull the task with the snap on time. All right? You have a feel? Now, I just want to bring up things that often I think are overlooked. And if you're going to run intelligent use of motion, is big. Finally, before I move along, the value of skip motion is this. Now my head's there, right? As I start to glide. I can inserting means I'm going to lead block on a linebacker. Normally, sometimes it's a nose, which really floss their ass. But by running skip motion, you can insert anywhere in here. I can go beyond and skip, yes, and I can insert anywhere, or I can block back. I can block on this side. That to us is stay. In the single back passing game, fullback knows everything that we ever teach, offense, defense, or special teams. Sooner or later, it's going to what? It's going to what? Kind of like it. What rhyme? Well, I would tell you it rhymes is what I'm looking for. It rhymes. H, stay, fullback's always away. So we got the edge taken care of on both sides, and he kind of likes that. You know, single back, he can get clock. So anytime we give a motion stay, you know, stay, F's always away. Okay. Stop is he takes off, taps, gives the guard, comes back, skips, and stops over here. So fullback knows he stops. If he's got a stop on, then I'm always blocking the other way, in other words. But anytime we go and stay, fullback knows I'm always away. And that really sets up your screen package later, but that's a whole new topic for the fullback or that single back. But you see the value of that stuff? And I think that's really an uncoached thing. Now, the final thing before I go on. Remember the Dallas Cowboys back in the Landry era where they came out and did all that shift in it? God, they look sharper than shit. And you go, how in the hell can they do this? First 5 minutes of practice, they ran huddle breakout. But they were in team first instead of individual. All they worked, you'd get your guys in a huddle call, formation, any motion, shifts, but no play. First 5 minutes, just how quick you get up, line up, boom, 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 everybody get where they have to get to, and we never practice the huddle again in practice. Well, why get in the huddle? Shit, let's run plays and get going. Yes? Well, what I'm saying is, this is a great thing to do in early outs if your team doesn't do this, is come out right now, all you work is your motion footwork and all that stuff. And that's done.
Great.
It's done. And the kids get into that stuff. Now these guys actually get into that false sense of thinking they're what? Receivers. You guys ever throw these guys much?
To tight end?
Tight ends. A couple years ago at UCLA, I was over there at practice, a couple days, this is 95, is this bitching? Their tight ends couldn't catch for the shit that year. So anyway, Toledo, that's his first year there as the OC, so he's going nuts. They're trying to hit the tight end arrow, he dropped it. He's wide open. He just started. Anyway, I'm standing by the sideline. They got some defensive players on the knee. Here he comes on the arrow, thump. All these defensive guys at the same time go, boy, that's a shocker. And then Toledo just starts screaming, no, I don't want me to throw that fucking tight end. Just yelling and screaming, just going nuts. Pretty funny. I think you need to throw to tight ends and H-backs, man, especially against certain types of coverages, cover 2 and cover 4. Boy, you can get some guys wide open. But I wanted to cover some of that. Finally, the concept of shift is a beautiful thing. If you've never coached the defensive side of the ball, 50% of defense is just getting lined up right. It is. Coach signals in, you can use any hand signal you want, is this bitching? Because when people scout you now, they go, these guys run 50 million. No, you don't. Quarterback sends in shift, you don't even know where your kid's going to line up. Now, that's a beautiful thing. So say I've got to start here and then end up in rip. Yeah? I'm going to end up here. Now, you got to set some parameters somewhere. Hey, Vern, you can't be all the way over here somewhere. But hey, Vern, you know, did you ever think about, you know, you kind of like to be a slot or a halfback or a fullback, and what happens, your backs and other receivers don't know where anybody else will line up either. On shift, like shift, rip, 20 slant, shift, rip, 30 slant, whatever it is. What happens, Doug, your guys end up lining up anywhere they want. Then on the command of down, they get to where they have to get to. Now you run to the heel, and there you go. Shit, people are lost because you know what happens. The rule is you got to have 7 men on the line of scrimmage, a full count, a full second before the snap. What happens a lot, because nobody knows where anybody else can line up that's eligible, sometimes there aren't even 7 guys on the line. But that's okay, because when you say down, they all get to where they have to get to. Make sure they're there for a count. Then heel, trust me, coverage is blown. The best thing you can do is shift followed by motion. I mean, hey, the NFL guys blow it. People playing you are going to blow it. Oh, it's sweet. You know what I'm saying? Because now the ultimate. Share this, your coaches, if you guys don't do this in New Mexico, the concept of Utah. Now what happens, Utah is this. Because we got it years ago from Utah. You know how we come up with a flat back, we say down, or offensive line goes down, you call and the coach is signaling, and then Utah tells them to stay up. So they all get up there, and I know you guys don't get that coil, but our guys do. But say you're like more the college and pro guys, you know, and I'm here. Down! They don't go down. They all stay up. And so they don't blow it. As we break the huddle, center goes, Utah. It just says it. We don't care if the opponents hear it. Because now, why would you ever do that? You're playing a team that stems the front all the time. Hey, do you ever notice teams that play you? They only stem once your guys go down. Now they can't time the stem, and now we come up on Utah a lot and go on the first down, and we knock the shit out of you on the run because our guys have flat backs in their stance instead of all hunkered up.
I think they have the liberty. Like, I'll see guys, some guys will do it, some guys won't.
Well, see, why you see that a lot in the NFL, too, is especially tackles on pass pro. If they got a guy coming off the edge, they can't get out of their stance in time to get back, so they let them stay up.
Maybe they don't run, too.
Yeah, just to dick with them, which is what we brought up for tight ends. And then if you really coach good in the O-line, if I've been having a guy coming off the edge on me all day off a 5 and 7 step drop, and he's my guy, these guys might go down. Bullshit, I'm staying up. I don't care if they know the Utah call or not. Bring your feet in, Vern. Get out of parallel. Drop that thing a mile, just like on punt. Because now when you skip back, you can cover a lot of ground with your feet together and elongated. Now I can skip back in Masco technique, and I can pick that sucker off. Right? But that's a whole nother topic. Okay, if you'll turn off the tape, please. Please, obviously. Right back. Okay, take a look at the right tight end. Now you go, wait a minute, he's going to the corner, then how come he ducked under a guy?
Outside.
Because he knows in their defense, if they get play action, that this guy up's going to have the first outside break, man to man, because he don't know who's coming outside, him, or whatever. So they'll do what they got to do to keep him out here. If you fake the run, you can hold him in here, then I can afford to come off with guys outside of me. I can duck under him to go to the corner. This is not an arrow route. All right, so these are just examples of tight ends getting open. Yeah, he got knocked around a little bit in there, right? What could he have done better, regardless if you're going inside or out, to not get knocked around as much?
Stay low.
Reduce hips and think brooms, right? See what I'm saying? If you take a look at him when he comes out, see, he's straight up and down. Now, you will like this. High school, college, or pros, it's all the same. See, because in the pros, because of pro hash marks, there basically is no wide side. It's, middle. So what happens, if you're ever going to run either play action or drop back, if we ever want to get the tight end, we call this a bend out. If we ever do it in the red zone, every place has to have them. High school, college, and the pros. In the end zone at the hashes will be orange pylons. At the edge of the end zone, orange pylons. At the front of each end zone is a pylon. We tell the tight end on drop back or play action on the bend out, yes? We want him to get up and get right between the two pylons, the hash mark pylon and the corner pylon, so if the quarterback gets anybody in his face, he can throw to a spot. I mean, if he feels he's there and he's got to put air under it, he just throws to the spot. Once you watch this tight end, he gets exactly between the pro inside pylon at the hash and the outside pylon at the back of the end zone. See there? Split the difference. See who's paying attention? DJ's up. DJ, stare at the H-back. What kind of motion is this?
Skip.
Yep. Here's the end zone view. Here's you can really see it. See the tight end is a little high. But you guys in the association, this tape is in the library. It's in volume 8. It's all tight end touchdowns in the red zone from '99 in the NFL. It's every team in the NFL. Just happens to be the Rams first. Now, he knows they're going to throw in a hurry, right? Here's just a quick version of stun, huh? Right? Now, let's ask ourselves, self, comma, why did he do that?
He's in Bronco.
Let's take a look at the backfield action. The backfield action is run. By giving him a quick stun, he knows that guy outside has got the force anyway, right? So just stun him and then just get back inside him a little bit, right? Yay! But there it is again. See, he doesn't have time to screw around. So I'll start to stun him. If he steps around me or stays soft, then just go. Now, I don't know if it's because how the ball was thrown, but I don't like, didn't have to turn all the way around. Now, he had to turn around in front of him because the ball's off a little bit, right? But you see what I'm talking about in Bronco here? If you're going to stun him and it's off a play action inside, it's going to be in a hurry, start to stun. If he stays out, just let him go and then come on off. But just look at one more here. Woo, doggies. Now, this is a corner route. This is a corner for a tight end in the red zone. You will love this. If we're inside the 3-yard line, he knows that if it was beyond right? Like we were at the 5, the 10, the 15, whatever. If Doug was going to throw a corner or a fade, he's going to throw it a yard to 2 yards from the corner pylon. Because that receiver now, a guy on tight man, doesn't have to look up and back early. He's going to look up and back late, shoot his hand, the ball's coming down. He knows that. Well, tight end's a little different. If the ball's inside the 2 or the 3 and you're going to the corner, either play action or drop back, yes? I know, I'll show you here, I know that when I get into the route, I got to snap my eyes around early because that ball can come between the hash mark pylon and the corner pylon based on A, how quick the quarterback sees I'm open, B, is it a play action or isn't it, or is it drop back? So there are subtleties that you got to get taught. The point I'm trying to bring up is use landmarks in the red zone to help those dug out. See, he got pressure, he's thrown to a spot, man. So what we teach the quarterback, if you're throwing play action inside the 3-yard line, anybody, it just turns out here it's the tight end, anybody going corner, if you get pressure off the edge, yes, throw 3 to 4 yards inside of that edge pylon, because then the tight end can run under the ball. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. Take a look at it here. See him? I'm going to tell you that ball's exactly 3 yards to that pylon. That's where you're going to throw it, Doug, if you get heat. Here it comes now again. Just look at this one. This is outstanding. That's shown okay up? Is that shown okay on the video? Yeah. And here's the end zone view finally. Look at that. It's about 3 to 4 yards from that pylon. Okay, if you turn on the line,